got two things. One is about trees, and I am interested in the sustainability committee, but I also teach on Tuesdays until 7 o'clock, so I'm not able to make it. So maybe this will get passed along. But we have trees in the city that are stressed and falling, right? And so Helene, destroyed the back of my house. So, and they were from my neighbor's yard. So the thing that I would like people to think about is this law or this ordinance. I'm not sure exactly, I'm just bringing thought to you. The neighbor's tree fell on my house and destroyed it, like it had to be down to the ground, the back of the house, and then rebuilt, and it's still in the process of being rebuilt. So a lot of moving parts, we're kind of in lockdown for quite a while. There are other trees on that property that are not looking good. So one thing that I've been wanting to bring to the sustainability committee is there some kind of outreach or education, PSA type stuff, where people understand the importance of getting the ivy off the base of the trees, and there's like a skirt at the base of the tree that should be cleared, and then how to take care of the ivy once it's gotten up. The other thing is when a tree, the tree that fell on my house, or the two trees that fell on my house became my trees. I understand that if I were living in picket post and, a tree fell on my barbed wire fence, and I understand that in that kind of situation, that's appropriate. But we are in an urban situation, so maybe there needs to be some rethinking about property, a tree becoming someone else's property when it falls on their property, especially when it comes to damage, and especially when it comes to the property that's next to you. The trees are suffering. Like the next time that we have a hurricane that blows inland like this, it's at risk. There's still a couple of trees that are at risk, and even as during this rebuild process that I've been going through, it was a week and a half ago, I noticed that there's a dead tree in the back of my yard. I had it taken down. But my neighbors, they're not going to take them down. So that's one thought. And
one more.
yeah.
I don't want to hear what you say, but we do have about 30 more seconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the other thing, another food for thought thing, and maybe this has already been in the conversation, but since we are on our way to having 3, 4, 5-story buildings down the main avenue, we also have traffic with these awful engines, and they're really loving the acoustics, because right now I can't live in my house. I'm living downtown behind the church, so I get to hear some of this stuff. And then there were like motorcycle guys in the spring, maybe y'all are aware of this, and they are really loud. It sounds like there are 20 of them. They're like zooming in the parking garage, and then they zoom through downtown, and then they're zooming behind Marshall's, and they're zooming at the Waffle House, making all of this. So the acoustics are perfect for loud engines, and I just wonder if there's some kind of discussion about noise ordinance as we continue with this. So those are the things.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that was our only sign up ahead of time, so I'll open the floor for additional public comments.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, come on up. If you don't mind signing in, please.
I'd like to make a comment about the proposed the College Avenue 398 address, and there's been a lot of talk about that. I don't think they've approved yet the planning department, but that's why I'm not talking about that project. It's not on the agenda. I'm talking about the idea of that property becoming a park. As time marches on, and I've been coming to these city council meetings for about 20 years, and in meetings very frequently, have more and more development. Yes, Clemson does have parks. Okay, Nettles Park, you gotta get in your car and drive. A lot of students don't know what Nettles Park is. Okay, Abernathy Park, very nice. I'm glad that it was spared recently. A lot of it is boardwalk, which is great. Maybe 1 or 2 picnic tables. You know, I was at Walhalla last week, drive off downtown, off the main avenue. They've got a huge city block park. A pond in the middle, trees, and no 8-story buildings right next to it. You just sit there, it's peaceful, it's quiet, it's a beautiful little park. What I'm saying is that this city council, and the ones that pass, they come and they go. But this city council, I think, needs to do something notable. Something you can look back on when they say, hey, listen, I voted for that 398 property. Instead of developing, we decided to make a park for the students when they're walking to the hub, when they're walking back to the MODA, they can stop off and there's the park. A little green space. It's a low spot. It's not good for building. But and there's a string to it. Okay, what better park can you have than a park with a string in it? Something to think about, because you have to think about your legacy in the future, Clemson, because 5-story buildings, 8-story buildings will continue. But this is the last spot on College Avenue. It's kind of like if you park cars at a Carolina football game, that last spot, you're not going to sell for $100. That parking spot's going to be worth a lot of money because it's the last parking spot at a Carolina game. This is the last spot in Clemson on College Avenue. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Robert Lee, 113 Crescent Drive, Clemson. I'm going to talk about freedom of speech in relation to a couple of matters, and to make a suggestion of a referral to the Planning Commission for one of those matters. The first is I was following a lawsuit about the recent censure of a council member, and my basic, the simplest understanding I have of that, and I like the best, is that it is council exercising its free speech. I think that's really a legitimate way to look at it. So whether I agree or anybody agrees or not with the content of that, council has every right to do that. And this student is making a lawsuit to try to take away that freedom of speech of the council. So I think it should be held on to for that reason alone, for other reasons. But that occurred to me. Now, there's another matter that came to my attention too as I was looking into DEI and a number of things. Clemson University's been under investigation for DEI and racial discrimination. I don't know what's happening with the outcome of that. But I got interested in DEI when anything in the SIG, and it just looked fishy to me a long time ago. And the more I looked, it's fishier and fishier and fishier, and just got to really skeptical about it. But anyway, you may not be aware of this, but you all are being scored by an organization, a nonprofit organization called the Human Rights, I can't remember, HRC, the Human Rights Campaign. But it's a deceiving name in itself. You may already know this. It's the premier LGBTQ lobbyists. So anyway, they are scoring you, but they are getting some matter of, also that's a matter of free speech as I see it. The city is free to communicate with this group wherever they want. This group can say that, but I don't know if the city is really aware of what's being communicated to this group. So, for instance, on the number 5, leadership on equality. Openly LGBTQ elected or appointed leaders, it went down from 23 to 2024, it went down to 1. So I just don't know how it's determined like that. So I really think refer to the planning commission or figure out what's going on with this. If this is a free speech, and they talk about some of these officials being officially designated, but I look in records, I don't see any council action about doing any official designation of anybody for anything. So they're really false claims, a lot of things. So I would really like to see referred to planning commission or some study to figure out what's going on with this thing. I can forward my email. So, thank you for listening.
Sorry about that. That was a jarring sound,
I
sorry.
thought that was a reaction.
No,
I thought it was a
Apologies.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. King. Any additional public comments? We did have some submitted via my civic app that I will read now. The first one comes from Mr. Thomas Hovenek on Riggs Drive, and it reads, regarding the planned development at College Avenue and Straight Circle, the scope of this development seems excessive and not consistent with the architecture and density of the surrounding area. A reasonably scaled development of 4 to 6 stories and 300 beds would better fit the location, especially with lower height structures along Strode Circle and Riggs Drive. In addition, sidewalks should be provided on both sides of Strode Circle and at least up to Knoll Road, and a planned sidewalk on Riggs to Martin Street and Pool Lane needs to be constructed. The commercial properties in this development, especially at the corner of Strode Circle and College, should be designed with some unique and aesthetically enriching features to facilitate actual business occupancy as opposed to flat generic storefront windows adjacent to the sidewalk of the street. This project is at an entranceway to the historic Cold Springs residential community and should be designed in a manner consistent with an appropriate transition from the historic downtown Clemson area to an historic residential area of single-family homes. Use of sidewalk, courtyards, and green spaces should be incorporated to create a village appeal to the commercial spaces as a transition to residential. Obviously, adequate public parking needs to be provided to facilitate successful commercial business. And again, this is from Mr. Thomas Hovenek at 216 Riggs. The second one submitted is from Ms. Stephanie Platt on Mountain View Lane. She writes, why doesn't the city have an ordinance requiring people under the age of 21 to wear a helmet while driving a moped? It is state law. Also, what in the world is going on with all of these power outages at the intersections lately? What is the main cause of the outages? Again, that's Ms. Platt at 103 Mountain View Lane. And Andy, do you have information about those outages by chance?
I know the streetlights were localized event caused by transforming the field.
Okay. Okay, any other public comments? Okay, I'll turn back over to you, Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. Next, possible approval of minutes from June 16th, 25. Would somebody like to make a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any comments or discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you very much. Next are reports and discussion. First is to receive updates for all active city projects. Nathan.
Evening.
Evening.
There's a fair many here, so if you have questions, hopefully we just kind of go through pretty quickly. First is the downtown streetscape that is currently out for bid. We actually have bid openings tomorrow. There is a 6 to 8 week Department of Commerce approval window that we have to wait for before we can officially award that project. We're expecting work to any non-contractors, so we're having to play a lot of things here, is that we might be doing the work on Addison during the football season, but the work along College Avenue, North Clemson, and Slim Street would be done after the last home game. So I think November 22nd is the last home game, so that Monday following would be when work will begin there. The next one is Downtown Information Building. This is Hogan and NPS. NPS is our design group, and Hogan is going to be our contractor builder for this one. The design is 95% complete. We did a final table read today with expectation for construction to begin in September, meaning that we'll probably be bringing the maximum GMP for the building here August 4th for y'all's approval. The next project is our downtown ADA. It also opens tomorrow, so that's going to be just a paver reset. We're going to focus on just two large areas, one in front of Triple T's and then one in front of Sully Seniors. There's some adjacent small areas kind of around on College Ave, so we're going to focus on that, trying to get as much work as we possibly can get done before August 15th, which is basically when students start moving in. And then the side streets you'll be able to do during the fall respectful home games, and then we'll attack the remainder of what's hasn't been able to be completed on College after the last home game. With this contract, we're also going to be asking for a change order from the contractor to help remediate any of the damaged sidewalks on Tiger Boulevard as well. So the next project is Clemson Park Phase 2. This opens late this month, so hopefully we'll be bringing an appropriate bid for y'all's approval here at the beginning of August. The contractor has 6 months to complete the work, so this is building out. So we've currently done the skate park, we've done the underground storm drainage system, we've done all the major storm drainage work. This is adding sewer to the building, which it currently doesn't have. It was on a septic system. Demoing the building, replacing the building, putting a shade structure between the skate park, the pump track, then all the hardscaping, landscaping, and everything else. We're going to prioritize. There's 2 rings on the plan. The ring around the skate park is going to be prioritized with the goal of completing that before November. So we do a soft launch for the skate park before we do a master grand opening for grand reopening for Clemson Park. So in the spring. The Abel sidewalk is currently under construction. We're expecting about 4 more weeks worth of work to just kind of wrap up 95% of that. There is one item that won't be complete in that 4 weeks. What we're expecting right now is bus shelter. The pad will be there. The lead time for the bus shelter has a 6-week window of delivery, so we're kind of stuck with when the manufacturer will provide that bus shelter to us. So we're waiting for that, but we're expecting about a month to go for actual active construction. They're doing a really good job of kind of maintenance and repair of the damaged areas as they move forward. So I think they're doing a really great job and working with me well, so we appreciate that. The next 2 projects are our 2 active harbor projects. So the first one is the Vista Circle, where we did water, sewer, and stormwater repairs. This one took much longer than what we were expecting, partially because sewer was 20 foot deep, so every single sewer tap had to be a 20-foot hole that had to be laid back to make sure we had safety for our contractor. The only work remaining on Vista right now is sewer manhole coating, so this brings us to where we hopefully won't have to touch the sewer for 50 to 75 years. And the total work came $100,000 under GMP. So the next one is the Monaco Circle, which was the remainder of the water. We did initial water project in Monaco in 2017. This is the final portion of that. And then also the sewer that kind of runs on the back side of Monaco. We've had some major issues with that leading up to this. All the work has been complete in Monaco except for the sewer manhole. So both those projects need manhole recoatings, and those are the 2 items that were remaining. This one did also come $200,000 under GMP as well. Another utility project we have going on right now is the Highway 93 water project. This one actually has 3 kind of separate areas all planning for future projects. The first was the Folger section, started on Dogwood and kind of went up to the second bend in Folger. So the map actually keeps on going, I'm sorry. And that was to extend where the hydrant was located and also change where we had to blow off valves. That work has been completed and patched. Hillcrest section, which started on North Clemson and College Avenue and goes all the way through Hillcrest. That will be completed this week. And then we expect to have the Highway 93 section, which is a very small section, but it's behind Addison Lane. And we've actually had to extend that because when we were trying to locate the water line, it was in the wrong place from where all of our historical data happened. So we're extending a water line on College Avenue, kind of prepping for phase 2 or phase 1B of the streetscape that we've already been talking about. And so that's coming in. And then we actually have a change order for the remainder of Folger for y'all's approval tonight on this project. And the last utility project is the Red Hill Water Project. This is doing a main upgrade on Goldman, a little bit of Goldstone, and then Walker and McGee. The big benefit of this project is that we're going to be replacing some hydrants to match our standard. We're also going to increase fire coverage for all the residents on Walker and McGee. Also we have a lot of old galvanized lines there that are very damaged and kind of require kind of constant maintenance. This will eliminate that need. So this project should start beginning of August and should take about 6 months for it to complete. The Abernathy Park enhancement, we've had our first staff walkthrough of the park. And actually, I need to ask y'all on dates. So we're trying to plan our first council review, be able to get your all's ideas. We're looking at August 11th, and I just want to see if that would work for everybody. I think we can be flexible on time. I think it's Wednesday.
The designers want to hear from council the priorities and goals of vision are
Oh, it's a
for the
good
project.
You would get it to the regular council time.
We were actually hoping to do.
Council's on the 4th, so.
We're kind of open to whatever time of day is available.
I'm flexible as well as everybody else.
If it was a little bit later, it would hurt my feelings.
I was gonna say, I don't wanna melt.
Well, I mean, we'd be doing it inside.
Oh, we're gonna be doing it, oh, I thought we were
Yeah.
gonna be walking.
No.
I thought it was a field trip.
like 6.
6 to 9.
Yeah.
How much time do you need? Because I have a meeting at 6.
I think an hour would be fine. It's basically just a work session so that the designers can hear from y'all what your vision and priorities are.
Well, I have to, because I have to be at the meeting at 6.
It's not there before better.
5:30.
5:30.
5:30, is that late enough for you guys?
Yeah, it works.
Okay. Well, thank you. So,
Doing a field trip.
we'll get filtered up.
She
So,
wants to do.
yeah, so we'll have the meeting with y'all August 11th, and then we're working on a community meeting, in late August for this one. So that's gonna be, y'all will have another chance to speak, and the community we'll have 2 community meetings as well, but just kind of put everyone in the right frame of mind for this project. So I think we have a really good design team that's really engaged and really thoughtful and taking their time to make sure we get a really great product for you. So
I think, we'll just feedback, the sooner we can set a date for that community meeting and announce it to the public, the better. Because I think it would be good to make sure we have that news widespread.
we have a couple of dates. We were waiting to set y'all's first to make sure that nothing kind of interrupted.
Makes sense, yeah. Thank you.
The next 2 projects are very similar, and they kind of started at the same time. So we have the Safe Streets for All. This is a project that we're doing in coordination with Clemson University. This is the action plan portion of the Safe Streets for All. This was a 80-20 match grant from Federal Highways. We're paying 10%, the university's paying 10%, and then we're going forward. We are currently planning for our second community engagement. So the first one was at Pendleton Library. This one will be here with the long range transportation plan, and actually we're going to also host that with the comp plan. So kind of a lot of moving parts. The idea is that we had a pretty good turnout for our first community engagement for these 2, and we're hoping to kind of capitalize on that for the comp plan so that you get to take a tour, talk about a lot of things. This one is the awesome thing about the Safe Streets for All action plans. Once it's actually been developed, we're gonna be able to use action plan to then apply for projects, and those projects are at an 80-20 match, so safety projects, so you think about similar to what we're doing downtown with the pedestrian hydrant beacons and things like that. Those can be at a match to be for construction, and we're awarded grants for that. So the target date for completion is fall 2025. Before that, our goal is we'll be bringing so part of this is we have to have a goal zero approved. So our goal is to have 0 deaths from any road users, so cyclists, cars, buses, everybody, walkers. And so we have a date set in mind, and we'll have to have a resolution for that. The next one, very similar, just different kind of scope. This is the long-range transportation plan. We're looking 25 years out in the future. We have a partnership between Anderson County, Pickens County, us, and Clemson University. We got a grant through GPAS. We're kind of using this as a kickoff for us accepting the ACATs, moving into ACATs. So we're going to be using this to kind of set the projects up for the future of what we're going to be needing. The LRTP acceptance presentation should be later this fall as well. So kind of both those projects are going to be wrapping up about the same time. We started about the same time, wrapping up about the same time as well. And then the final project that we're kind of working on right now is the engineering design manual. We're expecting this to be complete in October with, we had our first initial staff review late last month. We'll have a follow-up staff review for kind of where we missed and what we can help make sure we accomplish and wrap everything up together for them late July, and then we'll be working on kind of assembling all the documents and all of the documentations necessary. That approval or that acceptance is also going to be kind of tied in with a pretty large ordinance change as well, just because a lot of things we're going to change a lot of things to reference in the design manual so that we can use that as a living document. Any questions?
This is great. I like your graphic. A lot of those last 4 things are scheduled to finish in the fall. I mean, so that you're not rushed. I mean, from our standpoint, we don't have to rush, what you're saying.
Sure.
We need to spread that to more of the spring.
Yeah.
That's
So
a lot you're doing in the fall.
for the action plan, our goal is to get that completed before the spring application period. So we actually have we have a process for that. LRTP, kind of all those are in the design phase, and they're very much manuals that we have great consultants helping us with. I appreciate the concern, but I think we're gonna be good on getting this accomplished. And I think personally, the engineering design manual is a personal goal of mine, so I'm pretty excited for. They were willing to move quick for me, so I'm willing to take it and make it happen.
We do have a conflict with that August 11th date, it's the
Planning.
planning commission meeting. That would be here, so we have another date. That would work.
August 18th was another date that was.
And that's a council link, right? So we
Yeah.
need to do that council meeting.
So,
Yeah, it'll be at 5:30.
Welcome back.
So what about the first meeting in August? Okay. Is that too soon, Nathan?
It's not too soon for schedule review, but I'm not sure about our consultant. We have to get back.
So I'll just throw out, what about a Tuesday? August 12th.
Check, well,
Yeah, we can check.
Oh, what's the
Yeah.
next?
give us a few.
Yeah, scheduling wise, that's EDAC, so we're good.
That's eating.
But we're good, but that's a lunch meeting, so we're good.
August 12th is better than the
Okay.
And then we could go at 6, August 12th, a little bit later. So that maybe helps the transit.
No, I mean, earlier is actually better for me. I meant later in dates.
Later days.
Oh.
That'll be my first day back in 2 weeks.
I got you.
So that's gonna be a big day.
So, August 12th, give it 1 day at least.
So what time?
5:30.
5:30.
We'll check with our consultant. And
To
then,
make sure, yeah.
yeah, and then we'll.
It's 10, before 10:30.
Quick question, I should have done my due diligence before I
Sure.
came in. how difficult is it logistic-wise to keep updating the website with
Yeah.
lots?
So, no, yeah, so Sarah and I are working on keeping it.
I appreciate it, because I know I've seen it in the past, I just didn't see it today, but I didn't look.
Sure.
So thank you for doing that, because I know it's helping. I've had discussions with a lot of community members, and they'll actually refer to something out in the time frame, which is great, and I do too, so I appreciate it. So, thank you.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Cheryl's gonna talk about naming rights policy. Awesome. Yeah.
We have a great opportunity as a community goals, we are building more facilities. We, thought it was in the best interest, of the city to have a more formalized process for the city to entertain requests, to name or rename city facilities, properties, or amenities. So, with much appreciation to City Clerk Jeremiah Jackson for researching policies and helping us draft and execute, first draft. Thank you,
Oh, thank you.
Jeremiah, for working this for us. We have a proposed, policy and procedure for naming rights and recognition. It principally looks at 3 areas of opportunity: major gifts to the city, recognizing outstanding individuals, and also recognizing historical events or persons. So what you have before you is a draft policy and authority process. There'll be a naming rights committee that will entertain and assess recommendations. Those recommendations will go to the city administrator to consider recommendations based on the policy and guidelines. You see in this also guidelines that are based on the philosophy of areas in which we'll entertain naming rights. And then those things will be reviewed by the city administrator, and then finally will come to the council for consideration. So again, there's definitions, and there's 3 areas of outstanding individuals, historical events, and also major gifts, and procedure and guidelines. So I think it's a wonderful start, and it'll give us more structure for entertaining recommendations and considering recommendations, and then hopefully a strong process. So with that introduction, there's results and considerations what you see before you go as far as this draft.
It is thorough. Yeah, it's great.
Which city did you,
Hardyville.
Hardyville?
Do have, and it's probably just my ignorance and stupidity, but one place you talk about the point system on the score. You have, with, I do with, or with RFPs, you do that kind of stuff. And it says something about 15, total of 30 points, I think somewhere else it's a total of 15 points, but then you have to have 70%. The cutoff is 70%, so I don't understand the point system, and like I said, it's not a problem with ignorance, but 70% is, that's pretty low.
You can adjust that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just that straight
I mean, I
off.
think,
Put it up
I'm
to you.
just saying that
That's too low of a standard.
that's a pretty, 70%, that's almost a D in college, and we might be having to remove names from buildings if we do 70%.
We can adjust that to 90%, whatever, that's an A.
Yeah, I almost feel like this scoring thing could be simplified quite a bit. I don't know, maybe that's just me.
I just didn't understand, I mean, you talk about points and then it's a percentage, so I don't know, like I said, maybe I missed something somewhere, I don't know, there's no telling.
I may have interpreted, but I read it like there was a point system to get over the bar to even begin a discussion. It wasn't a, this is
So
gonna
you
happen.
go through
Yes.
that and then the 70%?
Yeah,
Well,
like
so
that.
Jeez.
kind of once you get over the bar, then we'll actually talk about it. Doesn't mean it was gonna happen.
Is the intention there?
That was the way I took it.
Yeah, is the intention for the committee to be the scoring body, and then that is handed to council for consideration?
I think so, and the 30 points was for individual, 15 was for a business, but maybe it is too complicated.
I think
I
maybe
think that's
that's,
the point, it
yeah.
needs to be clarified that this is the the scoring systems we use to assess
Yeah.
nomination, but then those things then come to the administrator and council just for consideration.
So where does the 70% come from? I mean, I know that's what, but I mean, what do they,
I think it's
what's the
just saying-
scoring on that?
Well, I think it's saying it, out of the total number of possible points, if it reaches over 70, then it comes for consideration. But I think this could be greatly simplified. The scoring system could be,
That's not what you just said, was it? Because you said the points is to get it to the committee, then it's a 70%.
that's what I'm saying, it needs to be simplified.
Oh, okay.
So how about if we did this, if we thought about, I think you're making a good point, 70% is not very high, because when it, any scoring system, like, you've got to achieve at least 90% before it's considered. But go back through a scoring system and maybe simplify it a little bit and make it more clear, that this is just part of the assessment at the committee level.
Yeah.
And that it's got to, pass a higher threshold of 90%.
So I would think administratively, you could take, these applications are gonna be a form setup. And then when that comes in, that could fairly quickly get a simple score. And if it doesn't reach a bar of being a serious application, it just never makes it. That's the end of it administratively. If it is a serious enough application and they have enough input from the community and letters of recommendation and all the other things to create something that has a valid point for our community, then it actually kicks it up to where we take a serious look at it. Something
So
like
how
that.
about that for our next step, if we think about particularly Exhibit A, simplifying and clarifying the process, is just a, the assessment process of a city clerk.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
Another question is, okay, I've lived here a long time, longer than I want to admit, but I know that people have donated land for parks and different things, but what's the latest example of a financial gift to the city of Clemson? I know there's financial gifts to the university, because their names are there, but what is a financial gift to the city?
Last one I can remember was probably for some soccer fields.
Okay, that was it land, or was it to purchase the land?
It was a financial contribution to help create them in any way we could find. So here's
Okay.
money, go create more soccer fields.
Okay.
Todd Evans is a donation, wasn't it?
Then,
I don't know off the top.
we also got a donation for Clemson Park. You remember that?
From the,
Yeah.
that group,
Well, not just the skate park, I'm not talking about the skate park, I'm talking about the park as a whole, and then you
So
also had,
McAdams gave the land, they didn't give money, they gave the land.
there was
They-
also a small donation as well.
Okay,
The
from the
donation
state.
was so small, I call it my area donation.
But the land was more of the donation, you
And
know.
we've gotten some in kind that we recognize when we got, like, people have given some opportunities for like sod being provided, things like that, but those are small, the smaller type. But to your point, the largest one, metals.
You know, there's not a dollar amount in here, and I think that the vision is that not every financial contribution constitutes naming. This is just saying this could constitute a name.
And that's where the scoring comes in.
I don't think we want a situation where every single small contribution becomes a name.
Got $50 I can get on my stop named after me.
Well, exactly, what's your dollar, what's the dollar?
But I
It doesn't-
think that's the intention of the scoring, right, is that is where that comes in, so that you don't have to worry about quantifying that you're qualifying.
Okay. And there was, someone has to be in the ground for 3 years. Why 3 years? Why not 4? Why not 10? Why not 1?
That was what was in the policy. I mean, that's up to you guys. What we can set it at, whatever you'd like.
And I think part of that is looking at, more and more communities and organizations that require individuals to be deceased, so that you can avoid, I see an example of
Issues.
situations where individuals who make large contributions actually had some legal problems later, and the organization could not remove the name. The idea that all organizations said you got to be deceased before you can get the name free. Again, it may be what you want to do. but it does avoid the issues like having legal issues later.
You also put in there ways to remove him or her.
Right, you do.
Yeah.
I think we keep that no matter what.
Yes, oh,
Just
yeah,
in case.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
That's a good
Not that we
question.
ex-
They don't have to be deceased if y'all
Sure.
Yeah,
prefer them to be alive.
right.
I think it's a great model to start with. And I think some of the questions that we're asking, I don't know if we'll necessarily come to that rationale for tonight. So I'm thinking also, it might be, since there is gonna be a group or committee that actually does the work, that possibly we go with more of a general policy, give them the charge to develop a more formalized policy, answer some of these questions, and maybe bring it back in a more polished format so that we can have the rationale to, on this point about why 3 years versus 5 years, or something to that extent. It's just kind of giving us ideas, and then that's more simplified, the more streamlined type process with the point system, so that then we can have it. So I think it's we definitely need it. And so I think it's actually really helpful to have that, and then we can have that final decision if we meet the bar. And I don't know if we do, if we don't, fine, but if it's something that we can just have someone finalize that and bring it back, that would probably be, I think, more ideal.
Well, we would bring it back with the feedback you
We can give the feedback.
brought up here, some point system, consider the 3 years deceased. Kind of be explicit about if there is an odd thing like 3 years deceased, put the rationale beside that, and we bring it back for another discussion item.
And do we need to have it brought before us quarterly, maybe twice a year? Is it gonna be that much naming to do it once a quarter? Huh?
Also,
Another-
I mean-
sorry.
Yeah.
Or there's not many things to name
So I would also
quarterly?
I'd also ask if maybe we can identify, would the committee be made of council members, or would it be made of staff, or a combination of the two? That would be a good thing to outline as well.
We were just talking about that. We didn't think we saw it in there.
It doesn't say. So
You're
that's
gonna
what
say in a committee.
there are things that I think we could.
Or perhaps a member of the community, a staff member and a council member, but we should definitely define that, I think.
Some more definition for committee structure and membership.
Yes. Yeah.
And I got one other question, and this may not pertain to this, but, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but I have a woman who wants to dedicate a bench to her deceased husband. And does that fall under this? Are we gonna deal with that under this, or is that something where, you could dedicate a bench? Yeah, or buy a brick or something, does that, in a pathway or something, does that kind of fall under this, or would we have something kind of separate?
Would be a special effort,
Yeah, because I've been asked by,
Well, a park bench is a lot different than an overpass bridge.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
Yes, very
And they
much.
probably don't need to be considered under the same,
No.
terms, yeah.
maybe we put some kind of threshold for it says, if it's something we consider to be like
In
Practical.
communities, you have
Yeah,
like naming
like,
brick, naming a park bench, and that's where you can raise funds, like you could say park benches or bricks, where it's actually, people do get a specific gift. I think
But
that's
this
just
is-
nice.
Yeah, and I got a story from a friend whose husband had hurt his foot, couldn't find a place to sit in Hardyville, actually. And she, when he passed, she got a bench dedicated to his name in that spot.
That's so cute.
Just something kind of cute, now she wants to do it for Clemson.
Sounds like a good project for us to work on.
Right. So this is good.
Yeah.
I think streamlining, more clarity and story, community structure and membership, and a little bit more in thinking about, whether we want to have people deceased or not, et cetera. All right, so this
In
is-
the committee, the makeup of the committee is gonna be very important.
All right.
I could see like a sponsorship request, that committee, I think that one is quarterly, that one's probably legit quarterly. This one here, we get,
I was thinking twice a year, or whenever,
they may
twice
not
a
meet
year,
for
or
2
more
or
if
3
needed.
years.
Right, as needed.
We don't
Or
get
more if needed.
meetings at all.
Just your mind's been so good on this so far, we'll continue.
Yeah, sorry
All
to
right.
redline the heck out of it, Jerry.
No, it's all right. Scott, give me some feedback.
Thank you.
So far.
Thank y'all. Excellent.
All right, thank you.
To be continued.
Next is staff reports. Amy.
We have, since we had some rainouts, we added some on-the-ad events, so we got tomorrow night, 7 to 9, kind of a little later, cooler, and then the following Tuesday, 7 to 9. And, make sure you get with Jeremiah if you have any questions or have any concerns about the municipal association meeting. I'll go down there, Wednesday, late afternoon, kind of scout everything out. So that when you guys arrive on Thursday, I'll be able to send you all some information about shuttles and however they've got it all set up. And that's all I've got, Mr. Mayor.
Glad you had a great vacation. Policy action, just a reminder, it's a 2-minute limit per speaker. First is consider second reading of the notice of an application for state-issued certificate of franchise authority by Spectrum Southeast LLC. Andy, you're back on.
Nothing's changed. I've reached out to the state to try to find out like specifically what the service is. I never heard back from anybody. I called some of the towns that they were also applying to. They didn't know either. Communications infrastructure, I guess we're looking at maybe some broadband service. Telecommunications.
Any other questions or comments for Andy? From the public? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I move that we approve the second reading of the notice of application for the state issued certificate of franchise authority by Spectrum Southeast. Second.
All right, comments and discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Next is consider second reading of an amendment to Chapter 2, Section 44, Public Comment Ordinance to address the promotion of business-like activities. Councilmember Jones.
This is the same as it's been, nothing's changed, just one piece added to it. Nothing new here.
Comments from the public? All right, would somebody like to make a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the second reading of the amendment to chapter 2, section 44C for the public comment ordinance.
Second.
Comments? All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you very much for the work on that. Next is other policy items. Consider authorizing the city administrator to enter into a multi-year contract for downtown sidewalk pressure washing with Homebright Power Washing LLC. Brandon, are you gonna lead this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, we ask that you approve a multi-year contract for downtown pressure washing. We do this every year. This is all the sidewalks along College Ave and the side streets as well. We did advertise this in June. We received 2 bids, one responsive and one was rejected due to an incomplete bid. Homebright Power Washing, they're out of Seneca, and they were the responsive and the low bidder. Any questions?
Questions from Brandon? Comments from the public? All right, somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we authorize the city administrator to enter into the multi-year contract for downtown sidewalk pressure washing. Do you need to read it all? For $76,902.
Second.
No, 2 cents makes me giggle.
Comments? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Mike Top.
Thank you.
Next is consider awarding a change order for Highway 93 water project in the amount of $59,380 to Guardcom.
Yeah, so this is an extension from where the initial project ended at the fire hydrant relocation. It's a horizontal directional bore, so we're not gonna open cut, so it'll just be a couple small square holes associated with some new service lines. So this will complete the water line on Walter Street. Any questions?
Questions for David?
I'm just looking at that green water in that one.
Patty's Day. Comments from the public? Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we award a change order for Highway 93 road project in the amount of $59,380.
Second.
Ma'am, did you want to make a comment?
Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
now I'm Eva Henry, and I walk on Riggs Drive two times at least a day. And there are places on Riggs Drive that the road is coming apart. You can almost see the ground. And I heard that Riggs Drive was supposed to be paved, but I have not seen that. And I'm afraid you're not gonna have an asphalt road to go over if you don't do it pretty soon. And I ought to know because I walk the road at least once a day.
Yes, ma'am. We appreciate you sharing. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And Nathan, you want to come back up? First, we're going to talk about item B. You can probably give us you're seeing your hand on regs. And so we're going to have you an update in just a second. Yes, ma'am. So I know we had a motion. Got a second. Any comments, any other comments too from the public? All right. All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you very much. Now, Nathan.
Yeah.
We're going to kind of defer back to a public comment. Just, if you can, just
Yeah.
address Riggs.
Yeah, so Riggs was a part of the 2025 paving, we awarded that to King Asphalt, earlier this year. We are waiting on them to schedule us to be able to do the work. The one thing that we are waiting on with Riggs as well is we recently awarded the sidewalk project for Riggs and Martin. And so, we talked with them about what the preference would be, and they preferred for us to try to do all the work. We have some storm drainage work, which requires cuts throughout the road, similar to what we had to do for the water and sewer project. And so we're gonna try to do that work before we overlay, so hopefully that overlay will have the longest opportunity best opportunity to be solid for the longest period of time. Part of that will also be full that patch of Riggs for the areas that are damaged currently.
So it'll be 2025, 2026, do you think?
Yes, we haven't gotten scheduled yet, but they said they were gonna be able to get a lot of the work done fall, early winter. But then I think some of it's gonna roll into the spring most likely. For the entire project funding.
Yeah.
But we're not looking years down the road.
No.
Within the next year.
Yes.
Year loud and clear, okay. Ms. Henry, did you hear that? Within the next year? Okay. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
I know that was kind of
Next
all.
year. Well, I hope they'll last that long.
Yeah. Thank you again. Yes, ma'am. Next, consider a contractual agreement between the city of Seneca and the city of Clemson for cat bus transportation services for fiscal year 2026.
I can speak on it, yeah. This is no changes from our contract from last year. It's a month-to-month basis, keeping our hourly rate to 90.36.
Questions or comments for Ellie? From the public? All right, somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the contractual agreement between the city of Seneca and the city of Clemson for capital transport in fiscal year 26.
Second. Comments? All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you very much. Next is consider renewing a mutual aid agreement with the Clemson University Police Department. Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. This is the same boilerplate mutual aid agreement for all agencies. The university likes to renew there every year. Nothing has changed from it. Of course, they have some staffing changes going on over there too, so whoever signs it for that agency. So it's just for the municipal association, and they like these agreements to come before the governing body, so here we are for approval for me to sign that.
Questions, comments for Chief?
The cost of personnel in a typical year, how much money goes back and forth between the two organizations?
So two things. I don't have those numbers for you. The mutual aid agreement talks about cost, but the mutual aid agreement is used in extraordinary circumstances. Special events are a little different, and so we do have an agreement with the university for special event cost coverage. Again, I don't have those numbers. We just recently signed that contract between us and them. The mutual aid agreement talks about costs, so like if we had to send somebody somewhere and they had to be reimbursed, that's why it's in that language from the statute. I can tell you with the university, because of all the special events that we work over there, there's a significant amount of money that comes from the university to the city to reimburse the officers for working that.
But that doesn't fall under the same umbrella as the mutual aid agreement, that's its own agreement for special events.
Correct. The mutual aid agreement does talk about it a little bit, because if it were a situation where we had to go into Pickens County and do something extensively, the mutual aid agreement talks about cost reimbursement, but it doesn't talk numbers, because it's establishing that reimbursement is warranted, and then you work those details out later. Special events, that's usually contractual, that talks specifically about numbers and hours. Correct. Correct. So if we had like an example would be, we recently assisted Pendleton with the protests that they had, that we don't normally have a contract with them to supply law enforcement services to them. So that we worked out a reimbursement, verbal agreement, and they reimbursed us for the officers that we sent over there. But that's not an ongoing thing, so we don't have an ongoing contract with them.
We're being good neighbors here, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll get you the number, we'll look it up, and
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
I'll send it all.
That'd be interesting.
Appreciate it. Other comments for Chief? Comments from the public? All right, would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we renew the mutual aid agreement with Clemson University Police Department.
Second.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. We were just talking about how on the agenda as an executive session next, that we're gonna move mayor, council reports, comments, and new business first before we go into executive session. Does anybody have, first, council reports and comments that they want to share?
With apologies, I will miss the next council meeting. I had a meeting, so not at a schedule in advance, so I apologize for that.
Appreciate it. Heads up. Other comments? I'll just share that the fireworks, thank you, Lindsay. I know there's Allie, many others, lead off people, and then the university with Chris Miller and others. We appreciate their partnership. Thought it went off really well, so thank you very much. We know that we're looking at maybe music next year somehow, but no promises, but hopefully we can facilitate that somehow. With that said, thank you. I thought it was great to have a good family to, so. If there are no other,
Public registration for fall sports with the rec league is open, so soccer, volleyball, softball, I believe, I don't know, but it's all on the website, very easy to use if you are a resident. And it's open to non-residents now, I'm understanding as well, through the 17th, so sports registration is open.
blood draw Thursday morning if you're interested. Keep that on as well. Any other comments, new business? All right. Next, we're going to consider going to executive session to consider an appointment to the Sustainability Committee, section, South Carolina Code, section 3470, yes, A1, thank you, appreciate that. Would somebody like to make a motion?
So moved.
Thanks. Comments or discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much, we will be back. I was looking down here, that was the only thing.
back.
We're back.
Alright. Would somebody like to make a motion to go back into regular session?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand. Alright, thank you very much. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Amanda Edgerton to the Sustainability Committee for the term ending in February of 2026.
Second.
Comments, discussion? Alright, all in favor, raise your right hand. Alright, thank you very much. Alright, would somebody like to make a motion to, actually, gosh, I'm not even thinking now. Alright. Adjourn.
Adjourn, yes.
John's not here to egg you on.
Like, I normally I have someone else. that-
Oh, John. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we missed John.
So, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, comments or discussion, all in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very
All
much.
right.
Good
Have a
job.
wonderful week.
Yeah.
Where's your nice.